Are you in a dilemma of choosing between buying a house or building a house? This video is for you. Make sure you watch till the end. Welcome to another episode with the Real Estate Couple. My name is Sheun Omishade. I'm an architect. So let us dive straight into our topic for today. So building a house. Let's talk a little bit about building a house and buying a house. So in doing this, there are two major things you must have at the back of your mind. The first thing is, what is your goal? Why do you want to go on this venture? Why do you want to buy a house or build a house? Are you doing it for your personal use? When I mean personal use, is this something you want to live in? Or maybe you want to even use it for your personal business? Or do you want to use it as an investment purpose? Investment in the sense that for a rental income, for short let, or maybe to buy, keep for a short period of time and resell. So this goal will determine which you will choose, because the goals have different time period. If you want to use it for your personal house, even if it's for your personal house, there's a tendency, depending on the condition in which you are, to have a time limit. So that will also play a lot of things. For example, if you have your rent due at a particular period of time and you want to move out of your house, you don't want to renew your rent, you are time bound. Building a house might not be an option. Buying might be a better option. If you want to use it for rental income and all your budget is streamlined, buying a small 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom studio apartment for something like 35 million, 50 million might do, but you might not be able to get that to do a rental income, build a rental income property in a very good area. So things like that are things you look at when you're talking about your goal. Then your budget. How much do you have that you want to spend on that house? How much do you have to buy? How much do you have to spend? Are you sure you're going to get the money you need at once? Is it something that you can get over a period of time? When you look at things like this, they play a part in determining what to go for. Because in cases like buying a house, you have payment plan. You can pay over a period of time. Also in building, you can decide to build at your pace. But that still goes back to your goal. What do you want to achieve? At what period? Because the disadvantage of building at your pace is that you are tying money down, and things, because of the rate of inflation, prices of things will go up. So it affects a lot of things. It affects your planning. So when you look at your goal and your finances, your budget, these are things that will determine what you should choose. So let's dive briefly into building a house, what it entails, the pros and the cons. The pros and the cons of building a house. So the pros of building a house, the first thing is that you can customize. You can decide to build a house of your dream. You can decide what you want. Maybe the ground floor, you're building a duplex, the ground floor, you say, oh, everything I want is a kitchen. Or everything I want is just the living room and the kitchen. Or you can decide to play around with whatever you want. And another thing is that you can work at your pace. You can determine if you're starved of funds, you can decide to stop the construction for a period of time, or you can work at your pace. And another thing is that you can also have quality control. You can see the kind of materials that is used at every point in time, and you can know what is used at what stage, that things are done duly and in the right way. Then another thing is that you can also do cost control in the sense that when you work with professionals, you can decide how you want to buy your materials, what to buy on ground, what to buy where you need it, so that you can always cut your costs when you work with professionals. So when you're building your house, these are things you can do. And they also have their cons. One of the first cons of building a house is the fact that it's time consuming. It's no matter how fast, even if you have all the money on ground, it follows a process. So that means it's going to take a minimum period of time, because there are some stages you have to wait for some other things to finish and things like that. So it takes time. And the other con is that you can't control cost. The fact is that because it's a time consuming thing, if prices of things increase over time, you would have to bear that into your cost, and it's beyond your control. There are some things that no matter how much you want to do, you can't buy it down. You have to wait towards the period where you need it to buy it. So that's part of one thing about building your house. And then the other thing is that it's stressful. No matter how you see it, even if you decide to give somebody else, it has a high measure of stress. And then another thing is that you have limited means of finance compared to when you're buying a house. If you're building a house, you might not have as much opportunity for financing as when the house is already existent and you want to get various facilities. Here you have for building, but it's not as open, especially in our country, as what you have for buying a house. And so let's now go to the process of buying a house. So if you want to buy a house, the first thing you do is look for that house, especially working with a real estate consultant who has an idea of the environment, who understands what is going on, who understands various developers, who can tell you, oh, don't go with this one, go with this kind of person. Then you also now do your check. You can see in both cases, doing due diligence is very good. You get a surveyor who checks the coordinates. You get a lawyer who finds out about the environment, who finds out about the building. You can also involve somebody who is a structural person, especially to understand how solid the building is. They do something they call structural stability test. You can do that. It's a new building, but you can find out how strong this building is. Those are some of the things you do. So when you've done this, your check, then you now make an offer. You make an offer. If you are all right with the building, you make an offer for that building. You make an offer to the developer or to the landlord, and if your offer is accepted, you make payments, carrying along your lawyer. At this point in time, your lawyer plays a very key role so that they can study, because when you make an offer, they give you a contract. They give you a contract of sales to understand what is involved in what you're going into, so that you can understand their terms and conditions, so that you don't just pay and then you discover there are some things involved in the negotiation. So you bring in a lawyer who goes through all the documentation, all the documents they send to you, to be sure that there are no caveats that will tie you down in the future. And after you've purchased the property, you do personal documentation, because whatever documentation is on that property is in the developer's name. So you do your own documentation in your name. That is your governor's consent for that particular property. And then what are the pros of buying a house? Very fast. Especially when you're buying a house that you're doing one-off payment, you can just buy and move in. Then the second thing is that you can manage your cost, because whatever cost they give you on that house you're buying, even if it's a payment plan, there is already a fixed cost that you're good. You can plan yourself. Another thing is that you have a lot of payment options. You have a lot of financial options. It's easier to get a mortgage for a house. It's easier to get payment plan for a house. But if you're building yourself, these options are not so available. Yeah, they are, but it's not as open as when you're buying a house. And then the other thing about buying a house is that it is less stressful. Whether you like it or not, it's less stressful. You just buy, pack and move in. Even if you're doing a payment plan, all you need is for them to deliver. You don't need to know how it's being built, unless you just want to go there regularly. And then what are the cons of buying a house? You have no control over how the house is built. And then the other thing is that it's not flexible. You can't determine what you want. It's whatever they build in the house that you're going to take. And then another con of buying a house is that there's a possibility that you might have regular maintenance, because it's a generic building. There's a possibility that some of the materials used are not so top notch. So regular maintenance, the quality of work you have on the house, so you'll be ready for regular maintenance when you buy. Those are part of the cons you buy a house. So from all I've said about building a house, buying a house, it's now going to be a personal decision, looking at what are my goals, what are my timelines, what are the finances I'm open to. this will now determine to choose between buying a house and building a house. So whatever decision you want to take, whether to buy or to build, I'm an architect and my wife is a real estate consultant, so the real estate couple got you covered. So if you're here to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please kindly click on the subscribe button. We'll be glad you did. Thank you once again for watching our videos. Expect more inspiring and educative content from this channel. Thank you very much.